Coming up on this episode of DL Weekly, Halloween has ended and the holidays are moving in. Tiana's Bayou adventure tips, new dining package details.
A veteran gets a surprise from Disney Cruise Line. The Holiday Foodie Guides are out. We talked to Bethany about Tiana's Bayou adventure previews and more. DL Weekly starts now.
Mika Nala Krista! Blah! Hi, this is DL Weekly. Family. Good. You listen? Okay. Don't forget Ohana.
Well, hello and welcome to this episode of DL Weekly for the week of November 6th, 2024. I'm Tig Bushman.
And I'm Olivia Sands. We would like to thank everyone who supports the show. This week, we'd like to give a special shout out to Anna W. and Wendy A. If you would like to help support the show and get ad-free versions of each episode, access to our supporter-only chat, and a bunch of other perks, head on over to dlweekly.net/support and become an official weekly tier. Now, let's get to the news.
Extra, extra! Read all about it! DL Weekly reports from intrepid correspondents Tag and Teresa. You heard it here first, ladies and gents. Breaking news!
Well, Halloween just passed us by, and this week preparations are well underway to get the resort ready for the holiday season that starts on November 15th. New Orleans Square and Toontown have been decked in holiday decorations for a bit now, with Frontierland, Fantasyland, and Main Street starting to get decorations right now. The tree in Town Square should arrive in the next week to be ready for the kickoff.
I am very excited that we have passed Halloween, and now we can be excited about the holiday and the Christmas decorations that are finally coming in and finally arriving. The castle looks fantastic as always, and it's fun to see all the decorations go up in the different lands and see how they theme them in each specific area.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because obviously we talked about this on the show before that, you know, the castle got some snow on it and, you know, like a couple weeks before the end of Halloween, which is always a bummer, but they had some, you know, reasons for it with the fact that they're doing some taping for the holiday parade or the holiday performance on Christmas that'll be on ABC. But it's nice to see that, like, we have a little bit of time that it's not just immediately to Christmas, and so they're kind of slow rolling that. But it's always so pretty during the holiday. All the holidays, Halloween, Christmas, all of these holidays are great, and the parks always look really festive during those times.
It is pretty jarring to see where the trees will go, both on the Disneyland and on the DCA side, because I feel like that circle is not often empty, or especially this time of year with, you know, the pumpkin and then the tree going up, it's not often empty. So it's kind of nice to be able to stand at the flagpole and look at the castle, but it does feel like a little bit of a gaping hole from what we're used to.
Absolutely.
With the holiday season starting soon at the Disneyland Resort, the gingerbread display is back in the Grand Californian. This year, the display will be at the Grand Californian Hotel itself with Chip and Dale in their holiday pajamas.
I think almost every year it's been the Grand, like the gingerbread house itself looks like the Grand Californian Hotel. And this time, I guess they're having some Chip and Dale in their holiday pajamas. I'm sure there'll be, as always, hidden Mickeys that you can find through it. It's always fun. I always like seeing these kind of displays because even though it's like the same thing every year, like it's decorated differently. And of course, like all the, which we'll talk about in the foodie guides later, all the different treats and stuff you can also get in the lobby there.
I am always just so impressed at the number or the scale of ingredients that have to go into this. Obviously, it's a huge display, but when you really sit down and look at it, it says 600 pounds of gingerbread, 600 pounds of powdered sugar, 250 pounds of fondant, 1 pound of pixie dust, and then 25 hidden Mickeys. So I can't wait to go and check it out. And they do a good job hiding the hidden Mickeys in this display. I feel like it often has to be a group effort to find them.
Yeah. When we were there, I'm trying to remember if it was I think it was the Halloween one last time we were. Well, maybe it was the holiday one. At some point there was a confection in the Grand California lobby, and I remember I think it was Christmas. Teresa and I spent a ton of time looking for it, and there was other people who were looking, so we were all kind of trying to help each other. And they told you how many there were, and we just couldn't find the last one. And so eventually somebody did find it. We're like, oh, okay. So it was really, really interesting to see how all of that, you know, trying to find all these little details. Sometimes they're very obvious, you know, it's like right at the corner and it's a giant Mickey. And then other times it's like, where is it?
I love this as an activity too to do, especially maybe if your passes are blocked or you come in the afternoon and you're not going to the park that day. I think for one of the Southern California levels, all of December is blocked for the Magic Keys. So this could be, a fun activity to go hang out in the Grand Californian lobby, take a look at this display, appreciate the display, work on finding the hidden Mickeys.
Absolutely. Well, we have times for the holiday activities at Disneyland. The Christmas Fantasy Parade will run daily at 2:30 p.m. and 5:30 p.m. The It's a Small World lighting ceremony will be at 4:30 p.m. daily. Believe in Holiday Magic will be at 9:30 p.m. daily. The Buena Vista Street tree lighting will be at 4:50 p.m. daily. And World of Color Season of Light, which is the holiday version of World of Color, will be nightly at 9 p.m. and 10:15 p.m.
I just love at Christmas that we have so many shows or like non-ride type of things to do. I think that's been, a point of feedback for people a lot since COVID really is we haven't had everything back in the parks. And I know the Christmas stuff is pretty routine. And I know Tag, you've made a comment before. I think some of it definitely should be, updated and plussed and refreshed, but it is just nice to have a fireworks show and World of Color. And we've got 2 parades and the tree lightings and the small world lightings. Like there's a lot to do around the holidays. And I think a lot of that brings the Disney magic and that's what elevates the Disney park. So it's just nice to have those things back.
I would really like to see World of Color Season of Light. I have never seen that show. At least I don't think I've ever seen that show. So I'd be really excited for that. Believe in Holiday Magic is a great fireworks show. I do feel like, because there was Believe, there's Magic in the Stars, which was the like regular fireworks show. And then that was the year they made Believe in Holiday Magic as like the holiday fireworks show. And it was really cool that there was like 2 fireworks shows that were very like, they were like, siblings almost. And they played at the same time. And they've done a ton of new fireworks shows since then, but we still just have Believe, which is a totally fine fireworks show. But I think all of the holiday entertainment for Disneyland, the Christmas Fantasy Parade, Believe in Holiday Magic, I feel like it's about time for those things to kind of just get a little refresher. They don't necessarily even need to be totally replaced, but the Main Street Electrical Parade, we got a whole new, finale float. That was something, but it's still the Electrical Parade. So do something like that for the Christmas Fantasy Parade. Refresh some of the things. Maybe make the music more, not modern necessarily, but less cycles. Repetitive, because I feel like that song just gets stuck in my head and just drives me crazy throughout the whole holiday season after I watch it. But maybe that's the whole point, right? To get it stuck in your head.
Well, it's not a very long song either, I think is the problem. And so it's like, it'll, go through it once, it's a couple minutes long, and then it just repeats for the 20-minute show. So I think even maybe an extension of that music would be nice. But adding in some newer characters would be great too. I know they added the like skier people in a couple years ago. That was fun. At some point they replaced Pluto with Max, but there hasn't been a ton of change. So it would be nice, even for some younger audiences, younger generations, to put some more recent characters, I think, in there too.
Yeah. Update it, Disney. Come on.
And I don't know, World of Color, the holiday edition, I love the regular World of Color. Like it's probably one of my favorite things about both parks. And I love Christmas. I was not my favorite show that I had ever seen. Yeah, I was pretty shocked, and maybe I set the bar and the level of expectations too high. I just think it's a little bit harder in the winter to do all the colors that they usually do. That's what I love about World of Color, is the water that looks like paint. And I think they tend to gravitate just towards like blues and whites, which just doesn't, in my eye, look as impressive as, the normal run of World of Color. But listen, still a great show to see. It happens twice a night. So if you're in the park and in the area, it's definitely worth checking out.
I'm with you when it comes to World of Color. The water that looks like paint, I just love it. I'm like, I don't know how this happens. Like, I know it's like a physics thing with water and light and stuff, but like, I don't know. It's one of those things that Disney does that it just seems like magical. And I love it. Yeah.
And it's a little harder. I mean, if you think there's not a ton of Disney Christmas films either. And so I know, I think one of the complaints with World of Color 1 is like there's not a super coherent storyline, but at least you get to see the characters in the movies that you love and recognize. And I can't remember in detail how Season of Light is, but it feels just like a little bit more generic rather than it's got that special Disney touch on it.
Good to know. Yeah. Temper my expectations if I ever do go see it.
Yep. Yep. And of course, with the start of the holiday season, there is a ton of new merchandise.
So one of the things that just got added on the link in our show notes is that for a limited time, there's a bonus with any merchandise purchase of $40 or more. You can get a Chippendale Christmas tote for $24.99 plus tax, which looks super cute. I think I have rediscovered my love for Chippendale in the last, let's say, year, and I am digging all of the Chippendale merchandise. They had the stuff for the little headbands. They've had some other things. They had like the shoulder plushies that you could wear. I want like all of this. The problem is because there are two of them, they sell them as like two separate things, but like as a pair, so it's more expensive. And I'm like, I really want it, but I don't know if I want like $40 worth. But I'm glad to see this as part of their holiday stuff. Is there anything in the merchandise that kind of sticks out to you as something new that you like or is on your must-buy list?
I love the ears, and I can't quite remember. I do see they have the traditional Santa hat with the Mickey ears again. I don't know if they've had that every year. I know we have a couple pairs from probably 20 years ago now, so it's nice to have those back. And again, it does get chilly at night in Southern California during the holiday season, so actually having a festive hat is really nice to wear, and it looks cute in pictures. I love the ears in general, though. So these little snowman plushy ears, they actually do look like a little bit like the build your own ears that they have. They're white and they're fuzzy on the headband itself. And then they've got two Mickey snowmen on either side that like look very plushy and very warm. So I think those are pretty darn cute. What about you?
I also want to describe the tote bag because I realized I didn't do that. So the tote bag looks like it's white, well, kind of like a cream with like the stripes, almost like a candy cane kind of stripes. And it's got a red thing at the bottom that says Disneyland Resort. It's got Chippendale wearing like a pointed, winter hat. They're painting it looks like the North Pole with some paint. They're wearing a couple sweaters. And then it's kind of got almost like a postmark on it from like the post office, and it says delivering the magic since 1955, Disneyland, don't open till Christmas. So I think that's super cute. In terms of the other merchandise, it's always tough because I feel like there's a lot of merchandise in general, not even just the holiday merchandise, I look at and I like parts of things, and then sometimes like they go too far with things. I don't like the base design of a Spirit jersey. I don't like the little line that you have. I don't like that to me it feels like frumpy because it's like oversized. I don't want something like that. But a lot of the Spirit jerseys, if they were like a normal t-shirt that had the printing on the back like they do with the Spirit jersey, I would buy one of those. But, it's a Spirit jersey thing. They do, it looks like, have some like stockings that you can buy that looks like it has some really nice padding on the inside that would look really super warm. That would be something that I'd be interested in getting. They just look amazing. Their fuzzy slippers is another thing you can do, and they've got a bunch of different designs for those. The green shirt that they have this year that just kind of has the castle design with some of the attractions and all the characters kind of donned for the holidays. That one's not too bad. Green, this kind of green, it's not like a forest green. It's not like a light green. It's kind of like this, I don't know, it's kind of like a lighter green. Isn't like my favorite color. I understand that's a holiday thing. But yeah, and I love the one that's the red. We talked about this a couple weeks ago, I think, on the show. It's a red t-shirt that has Disneyland, the classic Disneyland logo with some holiday lights strung about it with a Santa hat. I think that's really great. There is so many things on this page that I could scroll and we could talk for days, but we also have a foodie guide that we got to get to. So, this Mickey Mouse holiday tie looks amazing. And I don't even wear ties, but I would buy one of these. It looks amazing.
I'm continuing to scroll too, and I saw they've got this full zip up. It is more of that dark forest green, and it's got like kind of an older classic Mickey in a Santa hat. That jacket looks super warm, super cozy, and super cute. And then I don't know if I've seen these before. It's a Mickey Santa bucket hat, and then it's got the ears on it, and it's got white like fake fur trim on it with a hidden Mickey holly. That is super, super cute. I love that as like a Santa hat, maybe a little more trendy Santa hat type of thing. And then I'm not a big Spirit jersey wearer either, but they do have the pet Spirit jersey, and it would be super cute to match with your pet and have matching Disney Spirit jerseys.
I also feel like on this list that they have a lot more stuff that's not clothing. So as I keep scrolling, there's so many things on this list. They have kitchenwares and just things for around your house and plushes and just everything you can think of. There's a tree skirt I passed a little bit earlier when I was scrolling down. Visit the link in our show notes. Mice Chat that we linked to has a great article with just a ton of photos of all of this stuff that they've announced. And I feel like Disney, usually they release a lot of stuff, but I feel like they really went all out this year because it seems like there's like double to triple the amount of different items that has been released in the past. So if you are into Disney Parks merchandise, which I'm sure most of you are, and you like the holidays, I think it's a good time for you.
Keep scrolling as you go on the article too, because I thought the article was done, and turns out there's just more and more and more. There's a light up Stitch sweater that is super, super cute. So the other thing I haven't seen yet on here is I know Starbucks, they did put out some Christmas cups this week as well. I don't know if they're in this article, but they are on the shop Disney or the Disney Store website as of right now. So those usually tend to go quickly. So if you're a Starbucks cup collector, check those out.
They trained us to say Shop Disney, and now they changed it back to Disney Store, and I'm kind of irritated by it.
And now I can't remember which is which. Ever.
Yeah. I don't know. I kind of like Shop Disney better than Disney Store. I don't know. Anyway, the Disney Parks blog, which I do like that name, has some tips on how guests can prepare for experiencing Tiana's Bayou Adventure when it opens to the general public on November 15th. We also cover this again in our discussion topic today when we talked to Bethany, who experienced Tiana's Bayou Adventure as part of the annual pass preview, so stay tuned for that. There will not be a standby queue, only virtual queues available, like all the virtual queues have been recently, of 7 a.m. and noon. Lightning Lane Multi-Pass or Lightning Lane Premier Pass will also get you an opportunity to access the attraction. Guests can join the virtual queue and use a Lightning Lane to get access to the attraction more than once in a single day. So if you do the virtual queue, you can also do the Lightning Lane, and you can possibly ride it twice, which I think is kind of cool. Tiana merchandise will be on hand at Lewis's Critter Club and Ray's Berets.
Our conversation with Bethany was great. She gave lots of good details in there, both about the attraction and how to get into this queue and how to navigate virtual queue versus Lightning Lane and such. So I can't wait to experience this ride, and I'm glad that we've got another big attraction back open in time for the holidays.
Yeah, and I like that they are not just doing virtual queue, and they're doing this as a which we talk about in the discussion too. I'm glad that they are allowing the Lightning Lane multi-pass, which you don't have to pay extra for like an individual Lightning Lane kind of situation, or a Lightning Lane single pass. I hate this naming scheme now. Lightning Lane single pass where you have to pay additional to get into it. I'm glad that they're kind of including that, so that is awesome. I'm not so happy about this next story.
Details have been released about the Docking Bay 7 food and cargo nighttime gathering. The dining package for the Fire of the Rising Moon's fireworks in Galaxy's Edge will include a spot in the standing room only viewing area. A meal includes fried hamburger croquette bites, apricot goat cheese, dragon fruit yogurt, cream puffs, unlimited fountain beverages, and a specialty non-alcoholic beverage in a souvenir novelty cup. The package is $89 per guest, and tickets are non-refundable.
So in my description there of the food, I didn't give a lot of detail because it was already turning into a long read, and I don't like that. So there's fried cheeseburger croquette bites, which sound interesting and actually kind of look cool. There's apricot goat cheese topped with honey, za'atar, sour cherry gel, cheddar, and Monterey Jack and pita chips. There's a dragon fruit yogurt topped with lychee popping pearls and fresh blueberries. There's a cream puff pair of black calf cold brew and blue milk flavors, which sounds interesting. There's unlimited fountain beverages, specialty non-alcoholic beverage in a souvenir cup. You can also have a selection of wine, beer, and hard seltzer that can be purchased for guests age 21 and up. I think that, first of all, this standing room area used to be a place that you could just walk up, and it was a great spot to watch the show from. In fact, when we were in the parks last, we stood there and watched it from this very spot. It's not a very large spot. That's why it's standing room only and no seating available. But for $89 and just having a little bit of like kind of the fun food, I heard in another review for this that some of this food is stuff that used to be available on the Galactic Star Cruiser out in Florida, and they're trying to like repurpose some of these things. So they brought it to this meal deal. I just don't think for what they have and the viewing that you get, that $89 is worth it. And the fact that if they cancel fireworks, you don't get a refund kind of sucks. Because it's not like you get projections in Galaxy's Edge, you know?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I think the big keyword here is non-refundable. And we know those Santa Ana wins, they do like to act up. I actually am very intrigued by this menu. It is very different. So I will give them some props and some credit for that, even in, it feels like, flavors and textures and what's on there. So I personally am actually pretty intrigued by this. I'm not a big add-on person, but if you're going to do a menu that's that different, I'm at least a little bit interested in it. But yes, I think with the non-refundable and the not guarantee of the fireworks, this might be a little bit of a hard sell for some people.
Yeah. And basically when it comes down to, you know, it sounds fancy, but it's like a cheeseburger and like some yogurt and some cream puffs. Like, I don't know. So people might say, the argument might be made, oh, well, there's a novelty souvenir cup, so that's part of it, right? But then I look at that and I'm like, but what if I don't want the cup? Like, can I just get it? Why don't you give me a cheaper dining package and then upsell me to the novelty cup? That I feel like would be a little bit easier for me to be interested in. And Docking Bay 7 does have really good food and really interesting food. But I don't know. It's just, I didn't expect it to be that. I was hoping it was going to be cheaper. I was hoping it was going to be like a Rancho, you know, like a $40 dining package or something like that. I think that that's worth it. But we'll see. I'll bet you this place is still going to be full, and bet you the reservations are going to fill up because they always do.
Yeah, I mean, it is Star Wars themed, and it is something else to do in Galaxy's Edge. I know that's been a big complaint of people, is there's not enough to do or not enough options there. So hopefully this makes some Star Wars fans happy, and we'll wait and kind of hear how the food is and how the viewing area is too.
Yeah. Well, Mickey and Minnie went trick-or-treating last week to deliver Halloween treats to kids in the hospital. Disney worked with the Starlight Children's Foundation, which gives themed hospital gear, care packages, and more to hospitals around the country. Disney volunteers, EARS, and ambassadors created care packages including Disney toys, plush, books, and costumes.
These stories they make my heart so happy. You know, for Disney, this is just a drop in the bucket for them. It doesn't cost them much. You know, I'm sure there is coordination on the back end, but this isn't a huge lift probably for them. And, you know, for these kids and these families who are probably going through one of the hardest times in their life, to have Mickey Mouse show up, like, it gives me goosebumps to hear, honestly. You know, I mean, I'm sure that impacts their life for the rest of their life, for their families. They might have siblings, and it's scary to be in that place. And the fact that Mickey and Minnie can be in there and hopefully brighten their spirits a little bit is awesome.
Yeah. And, you know, hospitals are scary for adults, and like kids, you know, if you ever go into like, you know, kid wings of hospitals and stuff, they try to make it, you know, fun and kind of, you know, less scary and stuff, but it's still a hospital. So the fact that like Mickey and Minnie can come, I've seen lots of things where, you know, I've seen like Tom Holland will dress up as Spider-Man and go see kids, and, you know, like, you know, a bunch of actors will dress up as their characters and go in, and it means the world to these kids. And I think every interview that I've seen with anybody who's done something like this says how rewarding it is to make these kids' days, just to go in and do that. And Disney being able to provide, you know, some of the care packages with hospital gear and all the stuff for the kids, I think is really wonderful. And what a great, you know, trick or treat. Come on, like, we always give out candy and stuff, but they're giving out stuff that's like really cool and could be very impactful for these patients. So really awesome.
Yeah, and probably a little bit of sense of, you know, normalcy, hopefully, with the trick or treating too, right? That's things that most kids, or a lot of kids in this country, get to do, and obviously a little bit more tricky if you're in a hospital, you're hooked up to machines or things like that. So just a little bit of a breath of fresh air for them, hopefully. A new category of merchandise has come to the parks on both coasts. To celebrate National Veterans and Military Families Month, a new collection including a t-shirt, spirit jersey, water bottle, and baseball cap have arrived. The design features Mickey Flage, which is Mickey camouflage.
I did not, first of all, I didn't even know it was Veterans and Military Families Month, which is November. And the fact that, you know, there's a ton of military families that they salute all the time. They, you know, at the flag retreat ceremony at Disneyland, they always honor all the different branches of the military. They offer discounts to military members. They offer special tickets that have less restrictions and everything like that. And and it kind of is a no-brainer now that I see this. I'm like, well, why haven't they made merchandise for veterans before? So they have like a nice water bottle that has like a camouflage Mickey on the outside of it. They have the hat, the t-shirt, the spirit jersey that all has the word honor in kind of like a stencil almost with camouflage, and inside the O's of honor is Mickey's head. This is great. I think that this is really amazing, and the fact that they have this line of merchandise. Like I said, I'm just really surprised they've never done it before.
Yeah, I am too, especially because it says since 2012, Disney's contributed more than $20 million in funding and media support to nonprofit organizations around the military. So I love the Mickey Flage. I think it's a great way to honor people, but keep it kind of fun in Disney in the same breath too. So great merch line, and glad that both coasts have it as well.
Yeah. A veteran received quite the surprise at Disneyland recently, speaking of veterans. As part of the veteran celebration, Goodwill of Orange County's Tierney Center for Veteran Services gifted a Disneyland trip to David Negreros. I'm sorry I've butchered your name, sir. To recognize the dedication and selflessness while serving in the Marine Corps. While at Disneyland, his family was chosen by Disney Cruise Line to get a complimentary sailing on the Disney Treasure, which is the newest Disney Cruise Line ship, which launches next month.
My goodness, this has to be every fan's dream. You get to go to the park, and then when you're in the park, you get surprised with a trip on a cruise too. So this is awesome that it went to, a veteran, somebody in the military. They sacrifice a lot, their families sacrifice a lot. So pretty awesome that Disney was able to pull off this first trip and then add an extra special, surprise on the end.
Yeah. And what obviously veterans everywhere, my brother was in the Air Force. I know a lot of people who have been in the military. There's a lot of sacrifice. You spend a lot of time away from your family and stuff like that. And so the fact that Disney gave something back to a family to go and experience, this awesome trip on the newest Disney Cruise Line. And the fact that the Orange County Tierney Center for Veteran Services had this thing where they accepted nominations for families to get a trip to Disneyland and then add on to, I don't know. It's just, I can't imagine what it'd be like to be like, cool, I won this, I was nominated and selected to get this trip. And then in addition, now we have a cruise. How cool. And a cruise gives you that great quality time with your family because you don't have all the outside world and stuff. You're kind of disconnected.
And it's similar in some sense to the trick-or-treating story earlier too. I love the sense of Disney magic in this. And I think we've lost a little bit of the smaller things, right, in the parks. And unfortunately, I think that's because of social media and people trying to kind of abuse or push the system. And so I love that this is obviously a big act, but I still really consider it Disney magic. And I love that they took time and they were intentional and that they were able to gift this to this family.
Absolutely. And I'm sure we'll see video clips on their social media and stuff of this family enjoying that trip on the cruise line. So we look forward to that too.
Mouse Planet has done some sleuthing and have discovered some clues on Disneyland's website about what Disneyland After Dark events may be coming in 2025. Pride Night, Star Wars Night, and Sweethearts Night are all listed as events guests can, quote, look forward to. Disney Channel Night, however, is listed as, quote, concluded, alluding to the event not coming back.
Yeah, so I would never have thought to look at the landing pages on Disneyland's website that talk about the different After Dark events and look at the wording of like, oh, guests can look forward to this, or the whole giant thing. There's actually like a whole sentence that went along with Disney Channel Night, which is, this special salute to beloved shows has concluded. We hope you enjoyed the festivities, which sounds like it's done. We're not doing it anymore. But looking forward to means like these things were successful and we want to do it. I actually thought Disney Channel Night seemed like a lot of people went there and enjoyed it. So I'm a little surprised it's not coming back. Doesn't mean it's not coming back ever. Just means probably not this year. But Pride Night, we went to that this last year. It was amazing. In fact, I didn't even think about it. I'm wearing my Pride Night shirt tonight that I did not wear thinking of this story. I wore it because I haven't wore this shirt since Pride Night and I wanted to wear it. We did Star Wars Night, which I think was, we've talked about a lot of the show. I think it was just a bad experience for us. And Sweethearts Night, I've heard really great things too. So I'm interested to see what else they put into the mix this year. With the 70th, it might be weird because they might have some different celebrations that they don't want to do like a after dark night kind of thing. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm curious. I actually kind of like this setup because I think we may get some normal or like regular ones, right? Like the Pride Night, like Star Wars Night, like Sweethearts Night that we do see every year that people continue to attend. I mean, I haven't had a chance to attend Pride Night. That's one I do really want to go to. Your and James and everybody's experience was honestly one of my favorite DL Weekly episodes ever. And so I hope they continue to have that so people can continue to experience and enjoy that atmosphere. I wish I could have gone to Disney Channel night. I'm bummed it's not coming back, but I do love the idea of maybe we've got three quote, kind of normal, regular events that happen, and then they swap out 2 to 3, each year, and it switches it up. And that way for locals, maybe who want something a little bit different, right? They can experience a new after hours event each year. And your point about the 70th is interesting because I wonder if they will do anything in California Adventure instead, do an after hours event over there and kind of retheme and rethink that through.
Yeah. I mean, California Adventure with Oogie Boogie Bash has been a great location for that. So the fact that like they might move some stuff around is great. Pride Night was just like, I don't know. It wasn't even, and we've talked about this on the show a bunch, but Pride Night, it wasn't even the event or like anything specifically happening. Like the cavalcade was cool. Some of the photo ops were neat. The DJs were neat, but it was just, and I feel like I've used this term a lot lately, and maybe it's the word of 2024, is just the vibe of everybody that was there was just so joyful. And everybody was just having a good time. And it felt like what Disneyland should always feel like. And that was really interesting because like there was nobody that was having a bad time. There weren't people like upset. There weren't like kids crying. There weren't adults getting in fights, which I hate to say it, but it does happen at Disneyland. People just were there and joyful and everything you'd want, like what you would expect people to want to be at Disneyland, right? It's a happy place. And that's exactly what it was. And it was just so nice to be in that kind of environment all evening. And then, I'll leave the other nights alone, but I've heard like Sweethearts Night, I've heard like the photo ops and like if you go with a significant other or, a partner of yours, that is also a really great atmosphere of just kind of like a big date night for you and someone like, and it's in Disneyland and how cool that is. So I agree with you. I think these are 3 solid after dark events that they can have as kind of like the pillars that you can count on every year. And then they should throw a couple extras out just to, try different things. It's good that Disney tries things. I do wish that they would try a Christmas party again. I just think when they did the one a couple years ago that there just wasn't enough, or I don't know. They should work with the people who do a really successful one in Disney World, and they should try to do something like that at Disneyland. Maybe even do it in California Adventure, like Oogie Boogie Bash. But it'd be cool if they do something.
Yeah, and I would prefer, honestly, to have the after hours events in California Adventure. I know people want to be in Disneyland because it is Disneyland, but even when you look at operation hours, right? Like when Disneyland closes early, and then you only have DCA, like everybody's done by 10 o'clock, which I understand is still late. But like personally, 2 of my favorite hours in the park are post fireworks to closing. And you don't get that on the DCA side. Everybody loves Oogie Boogie. I mean, there is a lot of space in that park. So if they continue to bring these new events back or the existing events back or some new events, I'd love to see some of them over in DCA so that people can celebrate the 70th at Disneyland and then still get those fun after hour things in DCA.
Speaking of after hours things and staying late at night for things, the dates for grad nights for 2025 have been released. The dates are in May and early June. For a complete list of all the dates, check out the link in our show notes. Mouse Planet has that again.
I know this is a super popular event. I know we've got some weekly tiers who attend regularly or have been in the past. So nice that they get these dates out early though too, so that people can start planning their trips around the dates and make sure they're in the parks where they want to be.
Yeah. Because the things do close earlier on those nights, and there's a lot of the demographics of people who are in. Obviously, you get a lot more high school kids, and they're all there with their friends and stuff, so it gets a little wild. I've heard. I haven't experienced it myself, but I've heard it can be an experience. So it's good to know all of that stuff when you go in.
We have to get the snacks for Tag and Teresa and James and Bern. Oh, and Cinderella. Time for snack chat.
Well, this week for Snack Chat, boy, do we have do we have some stuff? Olivia and I, it was quite funny because originally when Olivia was going to guest host with me, I said, oh, we're going to talk about Alien Pizza Planet. Because she said, well, too bad the Holiday Foodie Guide wasn't out. Well, she brought the Disney gods' wrath upon us because not only is the Holiday Foodie Guide out, which talks about all of the stuff that's just at the Disneyland Resort for the holidays, but the Festival of the Holidays Foodie Guide also came out. Buckle up, folks, because this snack chat is not going to be a short one. So, Olivia, Holiday Foodie Guide, what did you pick out of the list? We're not going to go through the whole list. Trust me, as I went through the list and scrolled and scrolled and scrolled and scrolled, it never ended. So we would be here all night. But we've picked out a few things that we find particularly interesting. So, Olivia, what are your choices?
These foodie guides, I love the foodie guides. I mean, Christmas food and Disney, that is just like my trifecta of happiness right there. And even I got a little overwhelmed. I mean, there is so much on there. And I am so impressed because they've done so many specialty food items and foodie guides this year. And they are really going full force on these. So to start, I did do a little tally because I was curious on some reoccurring items. So there are 10 seasonal cold brews, 7 hot chocolates, 6 churros, 3 dipping sauces, and 3 seasonal cotton candies, which I thought was interesting.
So are these your picks or just total in the whole foodie guide?
No, total for the whole foodie guide for California Adventure and Disneyland specifically. So, I mean, I kept seeing, I know Teresa loves a cold brew. I love a cold brew. So I started putting those on my list. And then about 5 in, I was like, there has to be other items on here besides cold brews. And I was like, I can't talk about 10 cold brews, but there are 10 seasonal cold brews. So if you're a cold brew drinker, check these out. I'm not going to go through them. I think I picked my top 3 to check out the other ones they have. So the other thing that I noticed on this foodie guide that I really appreciate is that sometimes our holiday flavors, I think, can be a little limited to like peppermint and gingerbread, maybe a cranberry orange kind of thrown in here and there. And if you're not a big fan of those flavors, I think sometimes we get limited on those items. So what I noticed this year specifically is that there's a good range of flavors, but there's some more everyday flavored items that are themed very well. And then there's also some items that they really went with the winter coloring of red, green, blue, and white. And so I love that because even if like the winter season is not really your flavor profile, there's a ton on here for every palate, I think.
I agree with you because I feel like last time everything was like peppermint or, like all those like holiday flavors. And so it's nice to see that they have some different things this year. And the very first thing that I have on my list is, let's just talk about Alien Pizza Planet real quick, since it's the top of the list alphabetically. I picked the Holiday Green Drink. This is a new item. It's an apple-flavored beverage, whatever that means, topped with caramel cold foam and sprinkles. This is a drink right up my alley, and the fact that I am not in the parks for this makes me very sad.
I love this too, and I'm going to throw in some more as we go along, but there's actually a lot of fall flavors in here too, which I really appreciate because usually you think of like the pumpkins and the apples as kind of the September, October, but I love that they rolled into the holiday season. I think it just like diversifies that flavor profile again.
So you have an Alien Pizza Planet pick.
I do. I picked the Alien Reindeer Macaron. It's filled with salted caramel buttercream, a chocolate ganache, and brownie pieces.
Ooh, I didn't notice the brownie pieces.
Yeah, it's super cute. I think this is a good one where if you don't love the holiday flavors, it can kind of be like an everyday treat, but it's got super cute antlers on it. It's got like a cute kind of reindeer nose. It's definitely going to be a heavily Instagram, TikTok item. But if you like macarons, this is pretty stinking cute.
So continuing down our list, we've skipped a couple places. The next one up is Idlewise Snacks, which you have something.
I do. They have a Fantasyland garlic cheesy brat. So it's a bratwurst in a cheesy garlic pretzel bread. I know this has kind of been happening in different capacities. People are kind of doing like a build your own something with the pretzels. So I love to see that they actually did this. And I don't know, a bratwurst in a cheesy garlic pretzel bread sounds pretty darn good to me.
Yeah, I'm just, the only thing that gets me is I'm not a huge brat fan. In fact, the only brats that I enjoy, producer Vern cooks. because he says it really matters what beer you marinate them in. In fact, when we did the pumpkin carving for Teresa recently, at Teresa's house, I should say, we did the pumpkin carving with Vernon. He makes brats for this, and it's the only brats that I will eat. Because usually brats have kind of like a peppery taste to them, or there's a lot of spice, like it not like hot, but just spices. And it just kind of, I don't know, I'm such a plain hot dog person that it's just weird to me. So that's why this one is not like on my list. But man, that cheesy garlic bread that they have back there, pretzel bread. Oh.
This is a 90-second side tangent. If you guys come out for the Pacific Northwest Mouse Meet, I'm Swiss. And so Swiss brats are very different than German brats. So you guys will have to maybe come over. We can have some Swiss brats. They're a little bit more mild than the German ones. So if the German ones are too peppery, you might like the Swiss one.
Perfect. That sounds wonderful. So the next on, again, you have 2 more dining locations that are before mine in the alphabet here. So you've got some Gibson Girl and some Harbor Galley, it looks like.
Gibson Girl, this is my must-try cold brew. It's a peppermint cold brew float, peppermint ice cream with Joffrey's cold brew coffee and whipped topping. This is my ideal heaven drink. I will be drinking one of these at 7:30 in the morning if they open that early. So kind of fun to have the scoop of ice cream in it, a little bit different, but I don't know, the cold brew with like the slow melting ice cream, I think sounds pretty darn good.
Yeah, that's not bad at all.
And then over at Harbor Galley, they are doing gingerbread cookies. So I never got to try them, but I know that the chocolate chip cookies were a huge hit over the last few months. So from November 15th through January 6th, they're doing fresh baked gingerbread cookies that are available in packs of 6 or 13.
Yeah. I wonder if they're still going to have the chocolate chip cookies or if this is going to replace that for the holidays. We'll have to wait and see, I guess. Over at the Hungry Bear Barbecue Jamboree, the holiday funnel fries is on my list. They're cinnamon sugar dusted with caramel drizzle, vanilla ice cream, whipped topping, holiday sprinkles, and crushed Twix cookie bar pieces. I love Twix. I love the idea of funnel cake fries. It just sounds delectable all over.
I just want to call out Hungry Bear too, because they just opened 2 weeks ago or less than 10 days ago, and they're going to add a seasonal item into the rotation. So I'm impressed that they've got a stake in this foodie guide too.
Moving over to the Jolly Holiday Bakery Cafe, we have the cookies and cream cheesecake topped with red and green mousse and yellow pearls. That is a new item available. And looking at the photo, first of all, I love cookies and cream. But this looks just really good. In fact, it looks so good that when you first go to the link in our show notes and you click on this, it's actually the item that is in the banner for the foodie guide. So you know it's going to be good, right? Jolly Holiday, by the way, has just a ton of stuff at it. But you have some options there too, don't you?
Yes, I have the cookies and cream cheesecake as well. Cookies and cream is like my go-to everything. So this automatically stood out. But the top, the red and green mousse is actually in the shape of a poinsettia. So it's got a little extra seasonal touch, like a little decoration. So I put it on for the decoration more than the flavors, but I think together that's going to be pretty spectacular. And then the other 2 items I have are the Thanksmith sandwich, which is oven roasted turkey breast, stuffing, gravy, and cranberry sauce on rustic bread served with house-made chips. I know the after Thanksgiving sandwich is just a huge hit in general amongst people, so wanted to call that one out. And then I added in the pumpkin cold brew. I love a pumpkin cold brew, but again, I think I mentioned earlier, I love that we've got some fall flavors on this too. So peppermint and kind of a lot of these cold brews seem to be really sweet this time around. So if that's not really your style and you like the pumpkin type of cold brew, there is an option at the Jolly Holiday Bakery for that.
Yeah, and the Jolly Holiday is just a great location anyway. They always seem to have really great stuff listed there. Heading on over to the Mint Julep Bar, I put the cranberry pomegranate mint julep, which is a holiday twist on the classic mint julep with cranberry and pomegranate juices. This is also new. This sounded great. I love pomegranate. I wouldn't say I love cranberry, but I like cranberry. So I think this would be a win for me.
I agree. Also on my list, I like a mint julep. Sometimes they're a little bit sweet. So I think the tart pomegranate and cranberry juices is going to balance that out nicely. And then it's that beautiful red Christmas color as well.
At the Plaza Inn, which is kind of funny because for this listing, they always put like next to the name, like available dates or stuff like that, or mobile order available. This one I thought was funny because it was Plaza Inn, reservations recommended for breakfast, but none of the items on here are breakfast, so I don't know what's going on. But the apple pecan cream cheese bundt cake filled with apple, pecan, and cream cheesecake, finished with chantilly and pecans. Now, I'm not a huge pecan person, but everything else about this sounds amazing, so I think I could just deal with it.
And then I have the other two cakes on there as well. If you go to the foodie guide, all three of these cakes are pictured and they look beautiful. So the other two cakes is a gingerbread cake with cream cheese filling and gingerbread crunch, finished with buttercream glaze and a chocolate gingerbread person. Yum, and looks gorgeous. And then we've got the peppermint cake, which I loved. It looks like a candy cane. It's red and white layers. So white cake soaked in peppermint simple syrup, layered with chocolate ganache, peppermint mousse, and peppermint crunch, and finished with buttercream, holiday sprinkles, and mint candy.
I want to shout out the fact that they called it a gingerbread person. Because, we always called it a gingerbread man. So it's nice that it's a gingerbread person. I don't know. I like
agree.
that. All right. Going down to Rancho del Zocalo restaurant. They always have great stuff. This time, what I put on my list was an iced Mexican peppermint chocolate. It's a cold hot chocolate. That's funny. With whipped cream, crushed peppermint, and chocolate shavings. I don't know. Something about this just sounded really good.
It actually sounds really refreshing. And I think they've got 4 items on there in general. They all sound really good. But that frozen or cold hot chocolate, whatever they're calling it, looks delicious.
Yeah. Did you have anything at Rancho?
I didn't. I liked the seasonal items. Nothing to stand out, but I know that's a fan favorite location for sure.
Sure. Next for me, on the refreshment corner, I had the warm spiced apple tea with hints of cinnamon and clove topped with vanilla cream foam. This is just nice because this, again, is like a warm thing. And I like spiced apple flavor. And so I was like, well, this could be kind of good.
Yeah, I like that. Again, we've got the warm beverages. There's a ton of hot chocolates, but again, it does get chilly at night. So having a warmer option, I think, is really nice for people. This was my most interesting item, I think, on all of the foodie guide is Santa's Vacation Sausage Potato with pickled pineapple and teriyaki sauce topped with mac salad on a baked potato.
What direction is this going in? It's kind of going, it's got the first of all, I've never heard of pickled pineapple, so that's interesting. Pineapple.
Yeah.
And then teriyaki sauce. I'm like, oh, that takes it a little different way. And then a mac salad on what is happening here?
On a potato. I was like almost with it until we got to the potato and then we took another side trip. So I love that we've got some like citrusy Hawaiian flavors in here. I think that's super fun. I'm still trying to figure out, I think you would eat this with a fork rather than like trying to pick it up and eat it. But
I don't know if you know this about me, Olivia, but I eat like a lot of food with a fork and knife because like I hate messy foods. And so like I used to not eat burgers at restaurants. I still don't really eat burgers at restaurants, but like at home we'll make burgers and I used to like hate them. But now that I learned that I can eat them with a fork and knife and not get too messy, I love burgers. We have at least a burger a week because I was like, oh, I don't have to get messy. I don't know. It's just one of those things. And it's just one of those things.
Yeah. This is a messy food. You've got pineapple juice, you've got teriyaki, you've got mac salad. So seems like a very filling item, but this is, I don't eat meat, but this is definitely one if somebody tries it in the Discord, I would love to know because I'm very intrigued by it.
I'm excited to see like YouTube, like people that go and review all the food. Like this one's definitely like okay, what's going on here? And the fact that it's a baked potato and it's at the refreshment corner instead of like back at the
Troubadour Tavern
where they usually have the baked potatoes.
Yep.
Speaking of which, we did miss a tavern. We missed Red Rose Tavern. I see you have something listed here for the Red Rose Tavern.
I do. And I half because I want to try this and half because I love this description. It is green colored gray stuffed mousse with a brown sugar cake and lingonberry jam center topped with holiday sprinkles and a white chocolate star. I just love that they called it green colored gray stuff.
That does sound interesting. I'm just going to skip out of the order here because, like, between what's left of your list and what's left of my list, it seems like there's a lot of, like, weird, like, back and forth. So I'm going to jump to the Candy Palace with Candy Kitchen and Pooh Corner is the, like, there's 3 different places you can get this, is the peppermint patties. I did not get to try these last year. Every time we tried to purchase them, they were sold out. They were a very popular item. So this, even though it's not a new item this year, I want to put it out there because it looks so good. So if you know like a York peppermint patty, it's like that, but it's Disneyland's homemade version. And I have to imagine that it is as amazing as all of the other homemade stuff they make at Disneyland. So very excited about that. What's next on your list?
Pro tip on the peppermint patty, if you want to elevate your experience, throw it in the freezer. The cold peppermint, super, super good. Next
you
on
can do
my
that with
list,
a York peppermint patty too, like any of that stuff. It's really good.
Yes. Next on my list is the Tomorrowland Skyline Terrace, and I wanted to call these out because they're both plant-based desserts, and I don't have those dietary restrictions, so I didn't even really think a lot of the items on here probably have cream and butter and things like that in them. So they've got a pear cobbler topped with streusel in a tin, which sounds delicious. I love pears to begin with and love that that's plant-based. And then we've got a peppermint chocolate pot de creme, plant-based peppermint chocolate custard in a tin.
I think it's interesting because now is the Skyline Terrace, is that one that like you have to do is that the like dining package you have to do up there? Or I was confused by this.
I'm a little confused too. It does say reservations recommended for this bookable experience, but the bookable experience makes it think that maybe it is part of the package, but not super clear based on the foodie guide.
Okay. Yeah, because that's what I was wondering too, because I was like, I thought this was only if you bought like the viewing, whatever. Lamplight Lounge is next on my list, and I've kind of moved on in my life from prime rib because it used to be like my number one type of meat I wanted to eat. But I was scrolling through the foodie guide and I'm like, oh my God, they have a prime rib at the Lamplight Lounge. So they have an herb salt crusted with cheesy potato, haricot vert, wasabi cream, and au jus. I would give this a chance. It looks really good.
I don't have anything from Lamplight on my list, but their 3 dishes, they've got a chicken dish, they've got the prime rib, and then one other one, all really elevated, and they've got some seasonal beverages too. So this definitely seems like a good location if you're a frequent Disneyland goer and you want to switch it up and have some holiday options.
So I'm looking at your list. You have a bunch of churros.
I do.
So talk about your churros.
So churros, I just wanted to call them out. In Disneyland, we've got a cranberry churro, which is a classic churro rolled in cranberry flavored sugar with citrus white chocolate dipping sauce. At the churros near Sleeping Beauty Castle in Town Square, there is a peppermint hot cocoa churro, which is a classic churro rolled in peppermint cocoa sugar with a chocolate peppermint marshmallow dipping sauce topped with mini marshmallows and crushed peppermint.
Even the dipping sauce seems very, like, a lot there.
Yes, so very chocolatey, very pepperminty. The cranberry one is kind of fun, maybe something like a little bit different, but not too outside to try. But I know we've got a lot of churro lovers on here, so just wanted to call those out. And then at the Troubadour Tavern, they're doing a holiday magic popcorn, which is white chocolate flavored popcorn with pretzel sticks, assorted M&Ms, and crushed peppermint. They've got another popcorn somewhere on the list, and so I just, in my little hopeful heart, I'm thinking maybe we'll start to get some fun. Maybe this is like the small gateway to some fun flavored popcorns in the future.
You know, Tokyo has had great popcorn flavors for a long time, and I don't understand why most of the stuff they have at Tokyo has not come to Disneyland, or just anywhere in the U.S. between the two resorts, because it all looks good and people really like it, and it's like some of it's really highly themed, and you'd think like the popcorn, Disneyland would be all over it because the margin on popcorn is like huge. As somebody who used to work in a movie theater, like it costs you almost nothing, but you could sell it for like so much, and the smell makes everybody want to buy it. Like it just prints money for you. So yeah. I hope so. And it's
a pretty plain base overall, right? Like you can go savory, you can go sweet, you can go like this, a mix. At the Haunted Mansion too, they're doing a holiday treats mix in, so you can add on a scoop of holiday candy mix with M&Ms, mini marshmallows, and then candied pecan pralines. So they've got those two options, but the churros have kind of been Disneyland's thing for a long time. At some point, I think you were going to run out. And I feel this a little bit on the foodie guide. We're kind of running out of some churro flavors. And
Sure.
that's why I started to tally things. I was like, ooh, we've got 10 cold brews. So maybe we're heading in like a fun beverage direction. But I love the idea of maybe doing some popcorns as well.
Yeah. The last thing on my pick for this one was the Broken Spell Lounge, where they have a prime beef French dip. I love me a French dip. Prime sirloin, Havarti cheese, caramelized onions, and au jus served with a choice of fries, fruit, or chips. Sounds great.
The Broken Spell Lounge has a ton of seasonal items and a ton of seasonal beverages, in addition to the coffee house at the hotel. And they just opened too. So it could be a fun one to check out.
Yeah. Was there anything else of note that stuck out to you on your list of stuff for the Holiday Foodie Guide?
I've got a couple at DCA. Aunt Cass's Cafe, they've got a milk and cookies cold brew, which is a cookie butter cold brew, cereal milk, and chocolate cookie foam. So definitely one that's going to be a little bit on the sweeter side, but I think if you prefer that, this one sounds super, super yummy. And then at the Cozy Cone Motel 3, I wanted to call out, they've got the chicken pesto cone again. I know this is a reoccurring one, but this is definitely a fan favorite that I've seen. And at Port of San Francisco, we've got a breakfast croissant. This was one of the only breakfast items that I saw that was seasonal. So it is a breakfast croissant with bacon, eggs, jalapeno, cheese, green onions, and sesame seed, and is available for mobile order, which is quite nice in the morning if you're trying to grab something and go. And then the biggest item...
That one might stick around because as the other ones say like November 15th through January 7th, this one just says available starting November 15th. So that might hang around. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, and there's not really like a seasonal food on there either, so I could definitely see it being a staple of the menu. And then the final one, we're getting gingerbread Mickey waffles at Schmoozies, which is Mickey-shaped waffles flavored with gingerbread spices, topped with powdered sugar and a side of syrup. So again, if you're kind of like a grab, I know waffles are a little harder on the grab and go side, but if you don't want to sit down and eat a full meal, this is the place to get your Mickey waffles. They're seasonal. I think we're going to have a rope drop Schmoozies line for sure with this item.
Yeah, I don't see why not. All right. That was a lot for the Holiday Foodie Guide. That could have been its own discussion topic. We still have more, ladies and gentlemen. We are moving on to the Festival of the Holidays Foodie Guide. Just a reminder, the Festival of the Holidays is like the Food and Wine Festival, but for the holidays. They've got the booths out. There's a bunch of stuff that's available at different restaurants and stuff inside Disney California Adventure and a bunch of other places around the resort. So what are the fun, exciting things this year? There's a bunch of the same booths that are coming back, but let's pick some cool things. Olivia, let's start with you. What do you have that stood out to you?
Yeah, the first thing that caught my eye, and again, very impressed with this foodie guide because I think last year we got a lot of repeat items. I know they were fan favorite repeat items, but we saw a lot of new things, which is awesome. At A Twist on Tradition, we're getting a turkey galantine croissant muffin slider with herb, mayo, and cranberry marmalade. So it kind of looks like the top off. It's got the muffin base, and then it's got the mayo and the cranberry topped with turkey. So you could kind of build like a cupcake sandwich or muffin sandwich or kind of eat it on the side. But I don't know, kind of a different fun turkey holiday item.
Yeah. For me, at Grandma's Recipes, I had to put down the cookie dough Yule log that's filled with chocolate chip cookie dough and white chocolate mousse covered with chocolate buttercream. I love a Yule log anyway, and I love cookie dough. So both of these things together, I was like, yes, please, sign me up, send me a bunch of them. I hope it's good.
That will be the number one /first item I get when I when I visit the booth too. It looks amazing.
There's always like the problem is even if you're local, this stuff is only November 15th through January 6th or January 7th for most of it. Like you'd have to go every day and eat every meal, and you still might not hit all of this stuff. It is insane.
Yes. And then at Holiday Duets, they've got 2 mac and cheeses. One of them is new. It's a chorizo queso fundido mac and cheese with tortilla crunch. And then we've got a savory mac and cheese with herb, butter, breadcrumbs, sour cream, and chives. But the best part of this, I love when they do this, is you can do the Holiday Duet, which is a half portion of each if you want to try each of them.
That is a great idea. Instead of making people buy and have to pick, just give them both.
Love it. All for it.
Yeah, they should do that stuff more often.
Agree.
I am a fan of al pastor pork, and they have an al pastor pork and pineapple slider on a corn brioche available at Winter Sliderland. I am fascinated by this. I wish I could try it. It sounds really great.
I really hope if you are in the Discord and you try any or all of these, please post your reviews and your results. I know some of us are going, some of us aren't, but there's way too much for obviously one person to try.
You know what we should do one of these years is we should organize a DL Weekly foodie guide crawl where like a group of like 10, 15 weekly tiers get together. We all go to the park. We all order all the stuff we're interested in, and everybody can kind of share and try different things. And like, so everybody can kind of try a little bit of stuff. And that would be wonderful because there's, like I said earlier, there's no way for any one person to be able to eat all of this. Even if you're there with a friend, still very challenging. So I think that could be interesting and fun.
And even on this foodie guide specifically, it's more tasting menu. I mean, it's somewhere between a regular portion and a tasting menu. But I mean, you get through 3 or 4 of these and you're pretty dang full. So it's a commitment for sure.
Yeah. And at Cass's Cafe, they have a pumpkin spice bread pudding with a graham cracker crust topped with pumpkin cheesecake filling, whipped cream, graham cracker crumble, and an espresso brown sugar sauce.
Yum.
Right? That's like all you could say about it. It looks sweet. I feel like I would get a cavity just eating it, but it also I know would taste probably really great.
Yes. And I'm going to jump back up to Merry Mashup for my final booth. They've got an M&M's peanut butter fudge cake, which is chocolate fudge cake filled with peanut praline and M&M's peanut butter minis glazed with salted peanut butter and topped with a vanilla chantilly cream. I think it's a similar category to the bread pudding. It's going to be really sweet, but if you like chocolate and peanut butter, that sounds pretty darn good.
We only scratched the surface, folks. If you're interested in looking at either of these foodie guides, the links will be in our show notes. The Holiday Foodie Guide goes on for what feels like days and days, and the one for the Festival of the Holidays also feels like it goes on for days and days. So I couldn't believe that they released these within, I don't even know if it was different days. I think it might have even been the same day, just later on. Maybe it was just the day before. It was very close to each other. Let's just say that. And so the fact that so many of these things, I don't know why they didn't just, I don't know, combine it or something. But if they should have broken it up maybe even more for the amount of things on it. So it is crazy. Like Olivia said, if you're in the Discord chat or following us on social media and you've tried these things, please communicate with us. Send us messages. Go to our website. There's a contact form you can fill out and send to us that just tell us how you feel about this stuff. And if it's been good, if there's anything that stands out, if there's anything you thought was going to be good, maybe isn't good. If there's something you thought was going to be weird, maybe that baked potato. And maybe it ends up being like the best thing. And now there's going to be a bajillion different types of odd baked potatoes because it's become a thing around the resort. Let us know, because that stuff, I don't know. It's crazy. Just so much food. So much food. We're going to look like Santa Claus.
If you're a cold brew drinker, a person can only drink so many cold brews in 2 days. So start trying them. You know, if you're a regular, get one each time. Let us know how they are. Let us know what the best ones are. So those of us on shorter trips can prioritize the ones that need to be tried.
Absolutely. Well, if you enjoyed listening to the show, please consider rating and reviewing the show on your podcast app. It helps other Disney fans become weekly tiers and part of the community.
DL Weekly announces the boarding of the Trivia Express, nonstop star speeder service to the moon of Endor. All passengers, please prepare for immediate boarding.
Welcome to Trivia Land, where we have our great election night special. We are recording this on Election Day, November 5th. So we're going to have a little presidential history. Tag, Olivia, do you think you know presidential history in Disneyland?
No. I'm hoping there's some beginner's luck maybe in Trivia Land.
All right.
We can hope. We can hope.
Longtime listeners of the show may recognize a few of these questions. There's a couple repeats from 4 years ago. Now, obviously, this is a Disneyland podcast, not a politics show, so we're not trying to take any sides. We're not diving into politics. We are just asking the history of Disneyland and the presidents that have been there. So, from my own research that I've been able to dive into with the help of the Googles, let's ask some questions. Starting with, in 1957, Which former president of the United States refused to ride Dumbo?
My U.S. history from the 10th grade is really failing me right now.
Yeah, I'm concerned that we're going to look like we don't know our country very well. And I will tell you from past history, the angriest people have been people that we've said wrong things about the history of our country have emailed in. So this is a tough one. I'm going to say, so this was 1957. Because they refused to do it because they were a Democrat, right? Or wait, they were a Republican. Wait, which is which? Is the elephant Republican or Democrat? I can't remember. Because there's the donkey and there's the elephant, right? Isn't that like the two mascots for the two different political parties? Mm-hmm. Is the elephant Democratic? I feel like I have forgotten.
The elephant is usually associated with Republicans.
Republicans! See, I've got it all wrong. Okay, so that means it was probably a Democratic person. So who were Democratic presidents? You said former president in 57.
A former president.
Okay.
In 1957, this former president refused to ride Dumbo.
Okay.
So he wasn't necessarily former in 1957.
Oh, but
right
they were
now,
a former president.
Right.
Like now.
So,
now.
yeah.
Okay.
So I'm not saying that Joe Biden, the current president, refused to ride Dumbo in 1957,
sure,
back when he was 50 years old.
Sure.
That's an age joke. I'm
going to say Truman? Truman?
All right, Teg's guessing Truman. Olivia, you want to get in the Dumbo behind his?
I'm hitching my Dumbo elephant to tags for this one.
All right.
We're in this together. If
I'm spearheading this, we're all in trouble.
All right, Truman, final answer.
Yeah.
Your second question. In 1961, this president and his wife were named honorary members of the Disneyland Fire Department.
Fire Department?
I really thought we were going to have one former president question and we were going to get out of this.
Okay, I'm trying to think what former president might have had some type of history with the fire department. Were they, you said 61, were they a former president in 61? Because I've got the Wikipedia of presidents, and Kennedy was January 20th, 61 to November 63. Then it was Johnson, Nixon, Ford, Carter, Reagan.
This particular president was president at the time of 1961.
Oh, well then John F. Kennedy, I would say then, since I said that he was president in 61. Although if it was at the beginning part of January, it might have been Dwight Eisenhower. But I'm going to say John Kennedy. JFK.
I'm going JFK too, and I actually went to Kennedy High School, so I hope this is correct, or nobody's listening from my past.
All right, so JFK, John F. Kennedy, final answer.
Final answer.
All right, your third regular round question. Well, your third question of the night. Prior to being elected president, this senator met the president of Guinea at City Hall in Disneyland.
Ooh. Gosh, I feel so bad. And we've had these before,
so
potentially. I don't...
Was Ronald Reagan a senator?
That's a great question.
Ronald Reagan was a governor.
Governor.
Mm.
Oh, gosh. Was... Oh. I'm so sorry, listeners. I'm going to say Lyndon Johnson. Why not? He may not have been a senator, but that's what I'm going to say.
All right. Lyndon Baines Johnson, LBJ.
I'm jumping in the same boat.
All right.
Olivia and I are sinking together.
History is not the specialty here.
I am impressed by your faith in Tag.
You shouldn't.
Right.
I mean, you should be. She should not be having as much faith in me.
Listen, if it's a Disneyland question, I feel like we've got maybe a fair, educated guess.
These are all Disneyland questions.
Yeah.
We just don't
Far
talk about
edge of
politicians at
Disneyland.
Disneyland.
All right, your fourth question. This president is credited as being the biggest fan of Disneyland,
Ooh.
at least among presidents.
I feel like I should say something like Ronald Reagan because he was like there for the opening day, and I don't know, it just feels like something he'd be a fan of. He was the governor of California, he was the president. Disneyland was in California. Sure, Ronald Reagan.
I'll throw you a hint, though. Ronald Reagan did not go there as many times as the person I'm asking about.
Ah,
Who's the person that got like kidnapped by Walt Disney in the monorail?
Nixon. Richard Nixon was the one who was there for the monorail opening and got kidnapped. So are you thinking Nixon?
Maybe. That's the only other name that came to mind.
I'll hitch
That's
a
a pretty
ride
significant moment, I feel like.
on Olivia's monorail for that one.
Yeah, you're going to ride the monorail together and
Sure.
say Nixon?
Well,
Nixon.
and then bonus fact, hopefully this isn't your next question, he gave his I am not a crook speech at the Contemporary in Disney World, which I thought was interesting when I learned that
Oh.
fact.
I did not know that.
Yeah,
All right, so Nixon, final answer.
sure.
Final answer.
And your fifth question. This president attended the opening of Disneyland as an actor and returned for the 35th anniversary as a former president.
That would be Ronald Reagan.
Ronald Reagan.
All right.
All right, we've got one strong answer.
One
Trivia
strong
land.
answer, yep.
Final answer on that one, huh?
Oh, yeah.
All right. And your sixth and final question. This one I recently found, and I laughed when I read this one. This information came directly from a speech from this president. While a student at Occidental College, this president was kicked out of Disneyland for smoking on the Skyway gondolas.
Wow.
Oh, I vaguely remember this one. Let's see.
But Skyway had to have been earlier years then.
Yeah. I'm going to say...
It's a president that's famously very open about the fact that they're a smoker.
Gosh, who is open about being a smoker?
This is getting worse. Vern continues to give hints and I continue to have zero answers.
Well, originally I was like, gosh, was it like, I don't think it's Barack Obama. Maybe it was Bill Clinton. But then I'm like, no, he's not famously a smoker. Maybe George H.W. Bush? But he would be too old. I don't know.
Well, but he
Who's a
could have
famous
gone
smoker?
like before. I mean, we're thinking what? 50s, 60s. So he was
It could have been.
alive then. Who were the presidents in like the 80s and 90s?
I'm not sure. I don't know. This is terrible. So you wanted to know who were the presidents?
Oh, yeah. Who were the presidents in the 80s and 90s?
Well,
I
the
wasn't born
80s
until the late 90s. So this
the
was
80s
before I was born.
mostly Reagan. So the order is Ronald Reagan, then George H.W. was 89 to 93, then it was Bill Clinton until 2001, and then it was George W., Barack, Donald, and Joe.
All right. I think George H.W. is a good guess.
George H.W., let's do it.
All right. Final answer, George H.W. Bush.
I mean, it's
Final
just the
answer.
only answer.
The only answer you've come up with.
Yeah.
All right. Well, listeners, how do you think Tag and Olivia did? How did you do listening at home? Stick around until after the discussion and we can all find out together.
Well, this week for our discussion topic, we wanted to talk to somebody who maybe has been on Tiana's Bayou Adventure, which is only open to Magic Key holder previews at the moment, and of course cast members. And with the opening just 10 days away from when we're recording this Tuesday night, November 5th. Of course, it opens to the general public on the 15th of November, so not too far away. We wanted to have somebody on that's been on it and can talk about the Disneyland version. So we have brought in concierge extraordinaire Bethany to the show to talk about it. Bethany, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here and thrilled to be talking about Tiana's. It's amazing. I'm so excited for it.
I'm excited to hear what your experience was with it because I've seen videos, but there's nothing like experiencing it firsthand to get an actual representation of things. So for those of you who do not want to be spoiled, almost the entire discussion topic today is going to be about this, so you can skip past this if you don't want to be spoiled. If you are curious about it, stay in. I'm sure that Bethany's going to have lots of great information about it. So, Olivia, why don't you kick us off with our first question?
Great. So I'd love to start just even at the very top. And I know a little bit different now, before we get into the full virtual queue, but tell me, how was your experience even trying to get a spot in the line for Tiana's?
It's been difficult. So I'm local to Disneyland. So this was my second attempt to get into the virtual queue. The first time. And I mean, not to be braggy or anything like that, but I have never not gotten a virtual queue. And the fact that you're only competing with magic key holders at this point, and that I didn't get it on my first try, I was like, okay, this is like another level of trying to get a virtual queue at Disneyland, because it's not, it didn't happen for me. So then the second time, both my husband and I were trying to get into the virtual queue. And funnily enough, my husband was the one that was able to get it. And so I was like, come on, still. It's crazy how competitive it is. And so I'm hoping that once the actual virtual queue opens, it's not going to be as bad. I mean, I envision it being just like it was when we had it for, Rise of the Resistance when that first opened, and for Web Slingers as well. So I know it's going to be tricky. We at Concierge have all of the tips to try to make sure you're with the fastest fingers. So if you have any questions, let me know. But yeah, it's tricky to get that virtual queue. But yeah, luckily, like I said, my husband had the fastest fingers and got it.
What boarding group number did you get, and like what time did you get on the attraction?
Let me look. We had a DCA park reservation for our visit on this past Friday. So we weren't able to try to join the virtual queue until the noon slot instead of the 7 a.m. slot. So I want to say we were boarding group 69, and it was a backup boarding group, actually. Yeah, we were group 69. And it said very clearly on there that we were a backup group. And at the time, I want to say they were boarding like 14 to 24 or something like that. So we were kind of like thinking, there's a chance that even though we have a group, we might not get on. That's okay. Maybe we'll try next time, But it seemed to be moving pretty quickly. I mean, based on what I've seen too, just with friends and social media, it did seem like even if you had a virtual queue boarding group, the chances of actually getting on the ride were pretty slim, just because of all the difficulties they were having. It kept going down and then back up. And so we were just, like grateful to have the boarding group, and just, we were going about our day. And I want to say it was around 3:00 that our boarding group got called. Yeah, we were in line at 3:11 and on the ride at 3:30.
Wow.
So it went really quick. I was expecting it to be a long line and, to have to wait for a while. I prepped my kids. We brought some like little things for them to do while we were in line. We didn't need to do any of that. Like, we were totally immersed in the queue, like everything that they have, all of the little nods and everything. We were just enjoying taking all of that in. It was really fun.
I'm impressed for a backup group that you got 3:00. I mean, that seems pretty early in the day for a backup group. And I actually do appreciate that they communicated that with you up front. I mean, the Hope Right Magic Keys maybe understand a little bit more than the average guest, but it is nice that they were pretty clear on that communication to level set expectations from the beginning.
Yeah, exactly. So we were thrilled. And like I said, our experience was really smooth as far as like getting the virtual queue, getting in line, all of that. We did stop on the ride for a couple of minutes. So I did experience, some sort of technical difficulties, and it was like right before the big drop. So I was like, you've got to be kidding me. Come on. But they got it back up and running. We were all good. Yeah. So it was fine.
Yeah, I was just going to say exactly what Olivia said, which is it was amazing you got in so early, because I expected with a backup group it would be like much later in the day. So it seems like they know that there's going to be, some difficulties or something. So they want to like really, under promise and over deliver with it. So I think that's really good. I actually have not heard many people talk about the queue experience so far. So tell us about the queue experience. Was it good? Was there anything in particular that stands out? Like what was that kind of all about?
Yeah. So right off the bat, when you go into the queue, it honestly reminded me a little bit of the queue for Winnie the Pooh at Disney World. They have like a little garden and it says it's Tiana. Well, it's Tiana's garden, obviously, but it says it's the children's garden. And you can just see kind of like plants that are growing there. And then, the murals are getting a lot of attention online that are kind of on the like big building as you go onto the interior portion of the queue. So there's those murals that are kind of on the outside of the building there. And they're so beautiful and colorful. I didn't get a chance to look at them for very long just because we weren't standing there for very long. But yeah, it was just really, really pretty. And then once you go inside, honestly, a lot of the queue is, it's as it was, like you're going to go up the stairs and it's exactly as it was. They've just added some things to it. And I feel like that's kind of consistent through the entire attraction experience, is that, they've just added on to what already existed. My favorite part though was that they had all of these like newspaper clippings on the walls that you got to kind of look at. Again, didn't really get a chance to really read them because it's just moving through the line the whole time. But then they have like a little Tiana's kitchen that's period appropriate and has like beignets and hot sauce and like all of these things. And I know that there's nods to all of the Imagineers that worked on the attraction. And then Leah Chase, the famous chef from down in New Orleans, has a little nod to her. Philander actually did a post on it recently. And so I was like trying to pull that up while we were in the queue. And then it kept moving so quickly. So we didn't get to, pick all the things out. But next time for sure.
I know at one point, I think maybe I saw, I don't know if it was a rumor or if Disney had put it out that they were going to do scents throughout the queue or the attraction. Did you smell anything specific when you were in there?
I didn't notice any smells, but I'll definitely have to pay attention next time. I love that. I love it whenever they do some scents. The other thing I wanted to mention that I totally forgot earlier was that they've kind of taken on the fact that this mountain is an old salt mine that Tiana has converted into being like her business. And so you see a lot of mining equipment too in the queue, and just kind of things that represent like, okay, this was a salt mine at one point and now it's Tiana's Foods. It's base for Tiana's Foods. So yeah.
Well,
no smells.
That makes me feel good because I feel like the one time I watched a video where somebody walked through the queue to like get into the boarding area, that inside section that you kind of go down, you're in the mountain right before you do in the corner, and then there's the loading zone. It looked like, to me when I saw it, and now, but what you're saying, I'm like, oh, well, that's obviously theming. It looked like, how sometimes when it rains, Galaxy's Edge, I think, has some of this too. The rainwater will like come down and it kind of leaves that kind of like white stain of like whatever.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, did they not fix this? Is that like crappy? And I'm like, oh, salt mine. It's supposed to look like it's salted. Oh.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't
honestly,
get the theme, it looks funny.
Right. Totally. And that portion of the queue is honestly identical to what it was before, with just some minor touches of like, hey, let's make this look like a salt mine. So yeah. And then like in the loading zone, they added a lot to make it feel like it has that, like, just, I guess, a newer feel. There, it's yellow paint, just like the outside building, but yeah, for the most part, it feels very similar.
So music-wise, obviously with Splash Mountain, there's some pretty iconic songs and music in it. Did you get kind of the same type of impression from this? Like, does this seem like songs people would, maybe walk away singing or play in their house?
I think so. Yes. So obviously, Zippity Doo-Dah is like so iconic, right? Like you have that stuck in your head all day, similarly to It's a Small World. But there's an original song that is happening in the portion where it used to be Zippity Doo-Dah. So it's the new Special Spice song. And I heard that song, I feel like, on repeat while we were at D23. So it felt very similar to me, but I feel like for, someone who didn't necessarily experience the same, hearing that song on repeat, it's not quite as iconic, but I see it becoming that. It has that catchy tune, and yeah, I see it becoming super popular. And then you'll also hear a lot of music from the movie that you know and love. So I think that helps too. You hear Dig a Little Deeper, and then I want to say there was Almost There too, but I can't remember. I'll have to go back and watch my videos, but definitely a lot of the original songs that we know and love finished off with the brand new song. So yeah.
So do we think, I mean, this is kind of like a summarization at the end question, but I just am curious what your thoughts are now, is, when Tower of Terror converted to Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout, like in the beginning, just like with Splash Mountain and Tiana's Bayou Adventure, there was a lot of hesitation. People were worried that it wasn't going to be a good retheme or anything like that. Do you think that this version of the attraction is the same as like the same quality, the same level, the same kind of like enjoyment, whatever, of an attraction? Do you think it's less enjoyable, or do you think it's like better than what was there before? This is a personal opinion. I don't,
Yes.
we're not gonna, you're not speaking for everybody.
I personally think that people are crazy for being so negative about this reimagining. I think that it is better than what it was before for a lot of reasons. I mean, technologically, it's better just with all of the advances that they're able to make with the animatronics and just like the screens that they're using. And I just feel like it applies so much more to the Disney fan of today. Like my kids didn't understand who Brer Rabbit was, but they know Tiana, so I feel like it really does make sense. I enjoyed it. And I honestly came off of the attraction feeling like so happy and being pleasantly surprised, because I had heard so much hate and negativity about the Disney World version that I was like, I don't know what these people are talking about. It was great. It was super cute. I really like the story that they tell. I didn't have any problems with the fact that it wasn't, the movie, the dark ride movie version. I thought it was just the cutest thing. My kids loved it. Yeah, we had a blast.
I like that thought of it being like a more relevant character and a more relevant storyline. I mean, I was born in the like late 90s. So for me, Splash Mountain, like I don't even think I knew it was based off of a movie until people started bringing these points up. I thought it was just an attraction with animals, honestly. And I'm sure a lot of younger fans thought that too. So to wrap in a very present and relevant storyline, I think is awesome for fans of all ages, because Princess and the Frog is a great movie and it's an iconic movie, and it's awesome to have that in the park now.
Yeah, absolutely.
So tell us about the ride itself. Obviously, people may have seen videos of it. I firmly believe that this seems like one of those attractions that experiencing it in person it looks better, it sounds better, just everything about it is better than watching a video of it, especially the screens that they have like towards the end for some of those effects. So just kind of talk about the attraction itself. One of the concerns I think that people had was the Disney World version seemed like there was a lot of dead spaces between scenes, but Disneyland doesn't seem that way.
Yeah. That's been the big thing that I've heard too, comparing the two different versions. I didn't notice any dead space on the Disneyland version, but again, I'm looking at it from the perspective of like, I remember what Splash Mountain was, and like where to kind of look for things, I suppose. But yeah, I didn't notice any dead space, and I don't think that dead space necessarily would take away from the attraction either, because like you said, the screens are incredible, and just the story that they tell. And I don't know if you want to kind of get into that. I know that that's something that you can find online. So basically, we're following Tiana and Naveen and Lewis on a journey to find a band to perform at their party for Mardi Gras. And along the process, Mama Odie shrinks everybody down to frog size. And so a big, or like maybe like a third of the ride, you're looking at everything that's like huge. And so you're like the size of a frog. And I don't do spoilers. I didn't look at anything from Disney World or Disneyland, nothing. I was really, really trying to avoid it. And so when we did like the up, down, loop-de-loop, that's when you become little, or loop-de-loop, the drop that goes like up and down, and
they added a loop-de-loop. My goodness.
No. I know. Yeah, so we got soaked, and then I'm looking around and I'm like, oh my gosh, kids, we're frogs. That's so fun. And like, it was just so cute to see their reaction. And I thought it was just really, really a cute thing to add to the ride. And being surprised by it was really, really special. So, and then as you're coming up to the big drop, Mama Odie is explaining like, okay, let's get you back to human size and get you to the party. And so then you go down the drop and you come through again, we got soaked, which for some reason, that is the question that everybody has been asking me. How wet did you get? How wet did you get? I'm like, well, did you go on Splash Mountain? Did you experience that? Because it's the same. You're going to get soaked. Yeah. And then you like go around the turn. One thing I was kind of surprised by is the turn that like kind of brings you out to the Rivers America and then back in. It all looks the exact same. Like the mountain looks the same. So yeah, I was a little bit surprised by that, but that's the only thing that I feel like I noticed that was maybe not necessarily lacking because it's still so pretty, but I don't know. I expected everything, I guess, to change and that's not necessarily the case.
And to be fair, when you come down, I don't know about you, but when I come down the splash, I'm not paying attention to anything. Yeah. Everybody's like, oh, and looking around and talking about how wet they are. So they can have all types of stuff there, and nobody's going to see any of it because they're all
so true
concerned about that stuff. So, but how was the finale? I've heard, the finale at Splash Mountain has always been really cool. Does Tiana measure up?
It totally does. And that's where I feel like the screen technology really comes into play because, we have this grand scene where you can see all of the wonderful animatronics that just look so incredible. Seeing those in person it just blew me away. It was so awesome. And you have it on like all sides and, it's really cool. And then once you get past the animatronics and see, in the background, you have people that are on screens, but they look like animatronic, like it makes it feel so much bigger and brighter in there, I think. And then that's when you have Special Spice playing, and I thought it was fantastic. We loved it.
I haven't done or seen the ride through. I'm with you too. Like I've seen kind of what Disney's posted. We're obviously having this conversation now, but I haven't seen a ton of it. So is there even like a certain audio animatronic that like really stood out to you, or maybe that was even bigger and better in person?
Tiana in the final scene in her party dress, I could not stop staring at it. It's so sparkly. It's so beautiful. I mean, and I had seen, I think it was just the fabric of it at D23, but seeing it like in real life and, I'd seen videos too and everything like that, but seeing it in person, it really stands out of all of those animatronics. Tiana's shining.
Yeah, I'm looking as you're talking. I always like to see things when people are talking about it. So I have a video up on YouTube of a ride through, and I did not notice when I'd watched a ride through before. I'd only watched like one ride through, how shiny her outfit was, and it is the way they've lit it. She's like a disco ball.
Yeah.
It's very cool looking, and I agree with you that again, I think it'll look better in person than on video. But those screens in the background, instead of having more animatronics, they've got background characters on a screen, and it does make this part of the attraction feel so much larger than even the old one with the boat in there. Like that seemed pretty big, but this seems like you're outside, and this is like an actual, you're at Tiana's. It looks like it's at Tiana's palace, right? Right? Like that seems like where it looks very much like that. So
the context is that it's supposed to be at Tiana and Naveen's place of residence. Like as you're coming in, it says welcome to, I can't remember the name of the house. It's a French name. And then you come in and it's like their house. But yeah, it's beautiful and very grand, as you would expect from a prince and a princess, of course. So
I'm excited to see that lighting throughout the attraction in general. I mean, I know it is like a water dark ride, but Splash did feel like in certain parts like very enclosed to me because of the darkness. And it sounds like they put a lot of time and effort and energy into lighting this attraction really well. So I'm excited to see even how those effects, kind of play into it and enhance it too.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's definitely still a dark ride, but the lighting is a million times better than what it was when it was Splash Mountain. I remember just feeling like I can't see anything. I think even my videos from when, going on Splash Mountain that last time, the quality is terrible because the lighting in there is so bad. But yeah, they've really, really fixed that. It looks great.
I'm hoping that this isn't like they just refurbished it and then like, 2 or 3 months from now, it's going to go back to like having problems. Cause I know one of the things that online outlets have talked about is that, there's a lot of water, electricity and things like that don't really operate well with water. So there's a lot of, it's difficult to maintain at a high level. So I'm hoping that they addressed some of that in refurbishing this. It did seem like they did a ton of work pulling chunks of the mountain off and stuff and doing all of that. So hopefully that is going to be addressed where it's going to stay functioning for much longer and not be dark like it was before. But Olivia, I think, had a question.
Yeah, I was going to ask, I know some of our listeners or a lot of listeners have kids. So did your kids enjoy Splash Mountain before? And kind of if they did, what was their reaction to the new attraction?
So similar to what you were saying earlier, both of my kids, they're 5 and 7. They both experienced Splash Mountain before the refurbishment. And I think my son is a daredevil, so he wasn't scared of it. But my daughter was more scared of Splash Mountain. And she went on it. I mean, the timing, I feel like she hasn't aged a ton as far as like her scared level at Disneyland, because she went on it. Her first time was the last day that it was available.
Wow.
And yeah, she just barely hit the 40-inch mark. And I was like, all right, we're doing it. But yeah, she was very scared because I feel like Splash Mountain, you have that like doom feeling of like, as you're going up for the last drop with like just all of this like hectic music happening and you're like intended to be scared, right? With this overhaul, they both enjoyed it so much more. Number one, because they understood like the characters and the story. And then number two, because it was fun. As you're going up the hill, Mama Odie's talking to you like, okay, let's get you back to human size. And, like with Ray singing in the background where you're not like scared for your life going up this hill. So yeah, they loved it. And, my daughter came off Splash Mountain in tears. Like she was okay, but she was in tears. Tiana's Bayou adventure, they both came off just so excited and thrilled to try to do it again. They were like, let's go again. And I was like, no, I can't really do that. So yeah.
That reminds me of my first time on Splash Mountain. I used to wear glasses and I was like a little kid. This was right after Splash Mountain like opened. And I remember going up the lift hill and my mom being afraid that my glasses were going to fly off. So she took them off. So I was blind and went down the drop. So everything was just a blur to me, and I thought I was dying. And so for like years, I never went on Splash Mountain because of that thought of that. And then later, I went on it, and it wasn't so bad. But I will say what concerns me is I feel like there have been times I've been on previously Splash Mountain where I've gotten soaked, and there's been times that I haven't been so wet. Every video that I've seen of Tiana's, everybody is drenched. And I'm wondering, like, if when they redid some things, if it's just set up that way now, or if the water level's higher, or what. But it seems like people are getting drowned on the attraction. So I'm hoping that they can adjust that a little bit.
Yeah, that would be nice because I had seen that where people are just getting drenched. And so we just brought ponchos because it's November and a little chilly here in Southern California. So we didn't want to be soaking wet, especially considering I figured we were going to be going on the ride when it was later and then therefore cooler because the sun was going to be going down. So yeah, we were okay with the ponchos, but my son also wears glasses and I have a picture of him right after the drop and he's just drenched. Like his head is soaking wet and he's just got water droplets all over his glasses. And he's like, Mom, I can't see anything. So funny. But I let him keep them on for the drop so we can see it.
Thank you for that. From somebody who has a poor experience with that. Thank you for that.
It is nice that they're going to do a virtual queue. And again, hopefully people can get through it as it gets up and going. But we're going in December. And that was my concern was like, are we going to have to rope drop Splash Mountain and then just be like soaked the rest of the day? So hoping to get like a mid, boarding group. But it is nice that there's an opportunity maybe to do it midday or like later in the day. So you're not just, walking around with wet socks and wet shoes all day.
Yeah. Yeah. So for the virtual queue, if you do it, in the morning, the way that, they like for it to operate, right, is if you get the 7 a.m. virtual queue, hopefully you'll be going in the morning. If you get the noon virtual queue, afternoon or evening. But the really nice thing, and I know Disney World is doing it this way as well, is if you have Lightning Lane Multipass for the day, you can do that instead of the virtual queue. So it's not a Lightning Lane single pass. It's going to be included in Lightning Lane Multipass. So you can select that as an attraction. You know, it might be a good idea to use that as like your first one, especially going in December. And then if you wanted to modify it for later, you can kind of keep an eye on, you know, what the return times are and then modify it to be later in the day. So you're not, you know, ruining your hair right off the bat.
It's
absolutely.
like you're a vacation planner or something. Like, you know, all of these tips or something. But
I'm sure Marie would tell you the same, you know?
I really enjoy the fact that they're allowing, so we reported on this in the news actually earlier, which is there are 3 ways. So you could get the virtual queue, which is free. You know, you take your chance and, you know, get in, and maybe you get it, maybe you don't. You could do the Lightning Lane Multipass. So, you know, you just request it and it's just like a regular Lightning Lane Multipass. Or you could do the Lightning Lane Premier Pass, which, you know, if you have $400 a person, go ahead, knock yourself out. And you can just walk up and show them your thing and get it right on the attraction, which I think is good, because before, like, we've always just done virtual queue, and when new attractions have opened, they've always been that paid individual Lightning Lane, or
right,
which is now a Lightning Lane single pass, I think is what it's called.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but the fact that they're not doing that, I mean, that's kind of good, right? Because that, you know, they're not just trying to milk everybody for every dollar they have.
Well, especially since they just upped the prices again, you know, I feel like the value of Lightning Lane Multipass, previously Genie Plus, has kind of been a little bit lacking lately because of all the rides that have been down. You know, we lost Haunted Mansion for a long time. We haven't had Splash Mountain for a long time. And honestly, I think they did the right thing by just automatically adding it to the Multipass, because it was an attraction that was included with Genie Plus. So, you know, they really should.
Do you have some tips and tricks for people who do want to do the virtual queue to maybe try to help them get a spot?
Since she was a wizard before, but apparently not this one.
Hopefully this helps. I mean, so my biggest tip is to make sure that you know, everybody always says close out all of your apps, all of your other apps, so your phone isn't, you know, like working in the background, right? Make sure you're not on the Wi-Fi at Disneyland, because then if everybody's on the Wi-Fi, it's going to run slower. So turn off your Wi-Fi, close out all of your apps. Some people like to restart their phone to help. Just make sure your phone is operating on all cylinders. And then open up the Disneyland app 15 minutes before the virtual queue opens. Confirm your party. So everybody that is eligible to join the virtual queue, you'll be able to select them. Or if, you know, you have people in your group that don't want to go on the ride, you can deselect them and just do it for the people that are going to be riding. Confirm your party, and then you're on this kind of like holding screen, and you can either hit a refresh button or you can pull down to refresh. So when the virtual queue actually opens. And what I like to do is I have my Apple Watch, or I'll have somebody else with, you know, another phone. We'll be looking at a world clock with the seconds on it. And I always just pull down on the screen because it's easier. You just hold it pulled down. And then when it's 6:59:59, so like 1 second before 7 a.m., let go, and it'll refresh. And then you still have to hit another button, join virtual queue. And that's when you'll join the virtual queue. So that's been super successful for me in the past. Again, it didn't work very well for me the 2 times that I tried to do it with the Magic Key previews. But like I said, I think it was just very competitive with a lot of people who know and do all of those tips because they're Magic Key holders. So
that's what I was going to say. You're competing with all the other super fans.
Yeah.
If there's something that is going to be the most competed for thing, it's going to be that.
Yeah, exactly.
And it sounds like, too, based on your experience, whoever's in your group and has a mobile device that they can use should all try to
absolutely
do it to more chances of getting it.
Exactly. Yeah. The more people that you have that are willing to try, the better. Because, you know, for some reason, maybe my phone was glitching or something, or, you know, they got the 0.001 second lead on me, you know, like, yeah, absolutely. Everybody that can try should.
The milliseconds matter in this,
yes,
in this situation.
It's true.
So we've talked about all the great things about it, right? The music is great, the attraction itself is great, the lighting and everything's great, the whole lightning lane situation is going to be great when they launch and open for the general public. What would you say, other than getting wet, what would you say is like your least favorite part of the new attraction? I won't even say a bad part, but just like your least favorite that you were just like meh, or like you didn't really like, or like you liked other things way better, or even just a little bit better.
I think the fact, well, so I know the story now that I have looked into the attraction, right? Like I understand the premise of it because I've looked into it. But I feel like for someone who is not going to look into it, the premise of, finding the band for the party and, all of that, I feel like the story isn't super apparent for someone who's not looking for it, if that makes sense.
Sure.
And like after looking into it and then remembering certain things, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. But for someone like if I went to talk to my husband, he would probably be like, oh, they were looking for a band. I didn't pick up on that, And that doesn't mean that the attraction isn't cute, but I just feel like the storytelling isn't super in your face, which honestly isn't necessarily a bad thing because, kids aren't always going to pick up on things and the ride is cute even without it. So I think it's fine. But yeah, it wasn't super apparent to me, the story that they were trying to tell until I really looked into it. So.
Is that story and the premise just something that's like mentioned in kind of the beginning and then you just continue on your journey?
Yeah, I feel like it's really told in the queue. They kind of set you up for it in the queue where, you see like in Tiana's kitchen, there's like a little invitation for the party on her chalkboard. So I think that's like, okay, there's a party, but if you didn't read it or didn't pay attention or, you're dealing with screaming kids in line or whatever, like you're going to miss that little detail. And then there's a part where so on the part where you're outside just before the first drop, where you kind of have like a really pretty view of Disneyland from way up high, you see Lewis like bending over, like looking under something. And I didn't realize that it was Lewis until I heard him talking and we were like kind of going by him. But because I'm like looking out on the view of Disneyland, because that's like one of my favorite things. But yeah, so I think there's a touch of the storytelling there too, but I also think it's pretty easy to miss.
That'll be interesting to hear feedback. This kind of goes to Teg's soapbox, but like interesting to hear feedback, especially from Lightning Lane people, because if you are moving through that queue quickly, then, or even kind of at these beginning stages, if they, quote, do it well and you're not in the queue for very long. I mean, it sounds like even you were in there for 20 minutes and it's fairly easy to miss things if you're not looking for them. So if you are on the Lightning Lane and you're just running through it, I mean, unless you intentionally stop to look at it, it seems like there might be some elements of story that are missed in the beginning.
Yeah, absolutely. Easy to do it. Yeah.
What about the rest of Bayou country? What did the rest of the land look like? What was your kind of like impressions about that? I'm not sure exactly when you were there. You can definitely let us know. But like, was the barbecue place open yet or any of that stuff? So just kind of talk about like, what was the rest of the land? The big marquee thing obviously is the attraction, but a lot of this area has been touched in one way or another by this refurbishment or this re-theming.
Yeah. So first of all, the big thing you notice is obviously the land name has changed. So the sign is different. So as you're, walking around the corner, like passing where the drop is, you have that big, beautiful sign. And I think they did a great job with the sign, even though I'm like kind of sad about the name change, to be honest. But the whole area, first of all, it was just really great to see it with no construction walls. It's been boarded up for so long. So it was really nice to feel it, wide open. One of the biggest things that I noticed is, Hungry Bear, which is now the barbecue, Hungry Bear Barbecue Jamboree Barbecue, something like that. It looks relatively similar. I just know that, they're trying to bring in more of a barbecue feel and the Country Bear Jamboree type of a deal there. So it looked really cute, the little things that they did to modify it. But Winnie the Pooh, they added kind of like a barrier so that it's more obvious where you get in the queue. which I think is something that people have done a lot, is just kind of like walk by the entrance to the attraction or the entrance to the queue. So that's a lot more obvious now. So I think that was a really good thing that they did there. It kind of like corrals you into the queue. And then Raised Berets with the grass roof is so beautiful. It looks awesome. Even my husband, who's, slowly but surely getting to my level of Disney addiction.
We all drag our spouses up that hill.
I know, yeah. I'm finally getting him there. So yeah, he was telling me how pretty he thought that it looked. And yeah, I mean, everything just looks really fresh and new, and you could kind of smell the construction. So yeah, it looks beautiful. I think they've done a wonderful job, and I'm really happy that it's finally open.
Did you notice any of the new cast member costumes at all?
I did. I kind of had it in my mind to kind of look for it because I remember seeing, when they posted it on social media. But like I said, because we were moving so fast in the queue, I didn't really get a chance to really appreciate it. It did seem like they were all kind of wearing the similar items. I know that they can kind of pick and choose what they wear. So it seemed like a lot of them had the like yellow with the khaki bottoms, like yellow top with the khaki bottoms. But yeah, it wasn't like super standing out to me. I feel like it really fit in with what was there before. So yeah.
Which is nice. I mean, I think all of us can appreciate the cast member costumes, right? But at the end of the day, you don't want it to be so obvious and so out there that it doesn't blend well with the theme. So it's good that you probably noticed it, but it wasn't just like so stand out that it was detracting from the other areas of the land.
Totally. It fit in really well. I remember when Toontown reopened, the costumes were like huge because you were finding hidden Mickeys and they're very loud. But again, it fits in Toontown for them to be loud.
For sure. Yep.
That is definitely Toontown. So I think we've covered a lot of the stuff with Tiana's Bayou Adventure. I think people might be excited to take a trip to Disneyland because there's obviously all types of cool stuff going on. Because right now we've got Tiana's Bayou Adventure opening. The Haunted Mansion holiday version is still going right now if you haven't seen that since that's been reopened. The holiday time is starting very, very soon. There's all types of stuff, as we talked about in the news segment. There's all types of stuff. There's all the foodie guides. There's a ton of different food and stuff to try. It's a great time to travel. So if people want to go to the parks and get a vacation going, how can they contact you to get that all set up?
Thanks for the lead-in, Tag. That's great. Yeah, so if you want to work with concierge, we would be more than happy to help you plan a trip. Like Tag was mentioning during the holidays, those are coming up. It's never too late to plan a trip. We can always figure something out, make something work. It's really a great time to visit because the weather is going to be just perfect. I mean, when we were there on Friday, we couldn't have asked for better weather. It was phenomenal. So yeah, you can find us online at www.concierge.com. That's CONCIEARS.com. And if you want to work with me specifically, you can fill out our quote request form and request to work with me. And be sure to let us know that you've heard about us through DL Weekly.
Well, and I hope people do it because I tell you, I am very... and Teresa would say this too if she was on the episode, is a lot of FOMO right now, looking at all the cool stuff coming for the holidays. The fact that like all of this stuff has changed with Tiana's and Bayou Country and the barbecue jamboree. And of course the Haunted Mansion queue is getting closer and closer. There's just a lot of change and a lot of cool things coming. And, we don't have a trip planned. The next time I'm going as of right now is the end of February. So not forever away from now, but I definitely will miss the holidays, especially like the foodie guides. We talked all about the foodie guide a little bit earlier in the episode, and there's so many things on that list. Usually I'll find a couple things. This time I found a ton of things. So it's kind of like, man, I can't believe we're missing this. So definitely get in contact. And yeah, Bethany can give you all the little tips like the hold it down and then 1 second before.
That's good to know. I'm going to use that in December for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tips like that. Also, I want to say, because when I have booked things through concierge, and Bethany knows this, she probably thinks I'm weird for always talking about this, but they have this really cool platform that they use, that they have all your information for all of your stuff in it, that has your hotel reservations and information about your hotel and like all the stuff that sometimes you need to go to 40 different places to find. Things like check in, check out, if there's a breakfast, that kind of stuff. If it's your tickets, there's information about that. If it's anything, it's all in there, and it's so easy to find. Like when we went on our cruise, I was really happy because like it was all the different like ports and some of the stuff with the ports and all of this. And we have this trip coming up in February, which we booked through Bethany, and we have a different hotel than normal. I wanted to try something different, so we're not at the Hojo. Not that there's anything wrong with the Hojo, we just wanted to try something different for once. So we got that booked, and we've never stayed there before. There's pictures and stuff that get sent along. I told Bethany, I said, just for the organizational app that you have for your trip, it's totally worth going through. Even if I could normally do it myself, I don't get that organized. So it was really nice to, when we were on the cruise or when we've been talking about the upcoming trip, to just look in the app. There's an app you download. Bethany will give you a link, or whoever at Concierge. And all your stuff's in there. And you don't have to search through a bunch of emails or whatever. It's all just in there. Yeah. And however you guys came up with it or decided to do this, it's the best thing ever. And I highly recommend it. Even if you're a pro, it's just nice to have it all together.
Travify is the best.
Yeah.
I will talk about it forever. I cannot get enough of that system. It makes our job so much easier because we're able to put it all in there, and so we're more organized. So then you're more organized, and yeah, it's the best. And I love that they have an app too. It makes it so easy.
Yeah, I was just going to second what Tag said, even as a guest this week. I mean, Concierge, you all are amazing. And again, I think the big point is if it's your 100th time or your first time or anywhere in between, they're a great service. Definitely not just for newbies if you don't know what you're doing. I mean, even I consider myself a pretty good Disneyland expert, and I've gotten great tips and tricks and helpful guidelines from all of you. Like even today with the, pulling down and how to get into Tiana's and the best way to do it. So I second everything Tag said, and you guys are awesome.
Oh, thanks, you guys. That means the world. It's truly a passion that we all have for planning all of these trips. And it's a privilege to be able to be on the other side and help all of these magical memories come true. It's really the best job ever. We're so lucky. So thank you guys.
Thank you. Our friends over at All Enchanting Ears have been busy. They make fun and unique ears, plus ear holders, straw toppers, lithophanes, and more. They're offering a special discount code available to all weekly tiers. Use code DLWeekly10 for 10% off your entire purchase. Head on over to allenchantingears.com to check them out.
Woo! Welcome back to Trivia Land, Chef. My name Raymond, and I hope them answers are bigger and better than this here back porch I got attached to me. Don't you know Evangeline and I wish y'all the best of luck.
Welcome back to Trivia Land, where we're going to find out who these presidents are and how much we actually know about them. Dag, Olivia, how do you feel about your presidential knowledge?
Not good.
We failed the U.S.
Not good.
test.
Not good. Sorry,
all right.
Weekly Tiers, we have failed our country.
Well, all right, let's find out how you did, shall we?
Yes.
Your first question. In 1957, which former president of the United States refused to ride Dumbo? Teg said that it was Truman, and Olivia agreed. Harry S. Truman, to be complete with the name there. The correct answer that I was looking for was Harry S. Truman.
Wow. Tag, good job.
Good memory on he refused to ride the symbol of the opposing party.
Even a broken clock can be right twice a day.
Your second question of the night in our presidents in Disneyland history. In 1961, this president and his wife were named honorary members of the Disneyland Fire Department. Both of you said John F. Kennedy. The correct answer that I was looking for was Dwight D. Eisenhower.
All right, 50-50.
Yep, I don't remember why he was named honorary members of the Disneyland Fire Department. I may have to look that one up. Or if a listener happens to know, feel free to send that in.
Please.
Yes. Your third question of the night. Prior to being elected president, this senator met the president of Guinea at City Hall. Both of you said Lyndon Baines Johnson. The correct answer that I was looking for was John F. Kennedy.
Oh,
Dang.
You were
So
close.
close.
So close.
Just swap 2 and 3. We're even at a point.
I know when you said JFK on the previous one, I was like, no. But
So
it helps
close.
when I'm looking at my screen. So, your fourth question of the night. This president is credited as being the biggest fan of Disneyland, at least among presidents. Both of you saying Richard Nixon. The correct answer being Richard Nixon.
Woohoo!
I don't have it in my
Yay.
notes here. I used to have it, though. He's been to Disneyland at least a half dozen times, I believe, both as being a senator and civilian, and also as president, he went at least once. I mean, of all the presidents, he's been there the most by far.
wow.
It's pretty good for a public figure. I mean, imagine there's a lot of security and logistics behind
Oh,
that. So
yeah.
6 times that's a lot for someone like that.
Oh, crazy.
Yeah.
Yep. And your fifth question. This president attended the opening of Disneyland as an actor and returned for the 35th anniversary as a former president. Both of you right away knowing that was Ronald Reagan.
Woo!
Nice.
Well done.
That opening day clue really is what sealed it for me, you know.
Yes. Yeah, that one kind of a giveaway, but still a good question. I enjoyed
You
that
took
one.
pity on us. It's fine.
We
Yeah,
appreciate the pity.
I got to throw you one every now and then. And your sixth and final question of the night. While a student at Occidental College, this president was kicked out of Disneyland for smoking on the Skyway gondolas. And this he actually admitted to in a speech a couple years ago, and I've read the transcript of the speech, and I laughed out loud. You answered George H.W. Bush. The correct answer that I was looking for was Barack Obama.
Wow.
I almost
What- do you
said
know-
Barack Obama.
Do you know the context of like how that came about in that
He and
speech?
his friends were at, he was talking to students at a college, and he was talking about dumb stuff that college students do. And he said, oh, yeah, I did dumb stuff when I was in college. You know, in fact, my friends and I, we went to see a concert at Disneyland. And then afterwards, we were having cigarettes up on the Skyway gondolas, and we got kicked out.
Oh my gosh, that is crazy, and crazy that he admitted to that at all.
Yep. Yeah, the things that people talk about sometimes.
I didn't know he was a smoker. That's what threw me off.
You never knew about that? Oh
I
yeah,
didn't know
it was a thing. Yeah.
Wow.
Yep, there were all sorts of pictures of him on the that long walkway behind the Oval Office that goes to the residence, the one with the pillars. Yeah, there's tons of pictures of him like bumming cigarettes off the Marines and stuff like
Oh,
that.
wow. The more you know.
Wow.
Yep. Yeah, I thought I was giving it away by giving you that clue. But, well, listeners, how do you think Tig and Olivia did? How was your presidential Disneyland history knowledge tonight? If you've got some great question that you'd really like to hear on the air in the future, feel free to send that in to us at dlweekly.net/trivia.
We will be back next week with more Disneyland news and information.
Until then, go out and enjoy the parks.
Special thank you to Sidel for editing the podcast.
Please remain seated until the podcast comes to a complete stop and the doors have opened. Then collect your belongings, watch your head, and step carefully from the episode. On behalf of all of our crew, thanks for traveling with us, and we hope you have a happy and memorable visit here at DL Weekly.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.